definitely.
Curve Finance, curve.fi. So it's something I want to talk about for a minute. It got, apparently the front ends, aka website, got hacked. And what we know from what I've seen so far is that apparently so when you hack a website, by the way, if you can, basically this means you can modify the website, right? It just means like you can insert new pages, new code, whatever can run in the browser, you can put that in. And it depends on what level of access you have to and all this stuff too. But apparently the DApp, the smart contract on curve.fi, got switched with another one, and a lot of people went to use it. And I think there was also, they've been saying DNS spoofing, but I think more accurately, again, in the security industry here, it's more accurate DNS hijacking. So it seems like, if I were to speculate on how the attack happened, it seems like they got access to the DNS settings, which control, curve.fi. It will, the owners of the website can say, okay, curve.fi, it points to this IP address or this server or, whatever is correlated with it. But if the attacker got access to those DNS settings, they hacked like the portal, the admin portal or something for the website, they could change and point them at something else, like the attacker's website. So I don't even think the front end, I don't even think the code got changed on the original website. If it was a DNS hijacking attack, they actually just made a website that looked exactly the same with the malicious DApp on there. And then they changed the DNS settings to point the IP address of the server to the malicious server, which would host the malicious website and malicious DApp and the malicious smart contract, all that stuff. And then, so how would you prevent against this? I'll drop a link to my malicious smart contracts blog post as well, where I cover a ton of these different things, and also the protection advice for general stuff, which also applies to this attack. But basically, if they do that, they change the DNS. If the website is running with a HTTPS, which has SSL/TLS certificate there, and you see the green icon in your browser, green means good. Green means the browser has this list of all this stuff, and it can tell you whether the website has changed its certificate or not. And if it's been hacked or redirected or DNS hijacked or whatever, the green will turn to red. And red means bad. Yeah. Red means we can't verify this is the server you actually want to talk to, which I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I didn't go to curve.fi while it was still hijacked. But I imagine if you were to go there when it was hijacked, you would get a red, warning in your browser. Mm-hmm. You probably have to click through and say, I'm sure. Yeah, please. No, I want to get hacked anyways. Please just let me access it, which is easy to do when you just want to go to, curve.fi and you just don't want to mess with anything else. And then once you start doing that on your MetaMask, so another way you could prevent against that. So one is look at the red on your browser. Is it red or green? Red means double check. Do not proceed with giving them money. Green means probably okay. The other thing you can check is and I know this is hard for the average user, but if you go to Etherscan and you're able to look up the contract address for curve.fi, and you can see the legit contract address. And when you connect MetaMask, I suspect when it was hacked, it's going to ask you for another approval because you've already given approval probably to the legitimate one. And now you want to give, it's asking you to get your approval for the malicious one. So another sign other than a red thing in your browser is asking for another approval because it's a different smart contract. Now, if you've already given approval before and it's asking for it again, that's suspicious because it already has it. So that's the second clue. And the third clue is now that you know the legitimate contract address for the curve.fi contract, you can compare that to the one in MetaMask when you're doing a transaction. If they don't match, if the legitimate contract address you found on Etherscan does not match the contract address of what you're interacting with on your MetaMask prompt, do not continue, reject, because that is not the contract you're interacting with because the addresses are not the same. So that's 3 ways to protect yourself on those types of attacks. And again, I'll drop the link to the blog. Again, this is what we know now that I've read in blog posts and what I'm speculating on how the attack happened. I may be off in some way, but I feel like that's the most straightforward way of explaining it. And that's probably what happened. So if you want to look at all the protections and other smart contract scams and hacks and stuff like that, go to the blog, check that out, and that'll teach you how to protect yourself in different ways.
That's really cool knowing about the green and the red light, though. I wonder if anyone saw that and they just didn't know what they're looking at. And is that like a typical thing that most people see on their browser, or is that legitimately something they have a specialized browser for? Because I think I might have missed or overstepped or missed that part when you're saying it.
Yeah. So if you look at your Chrome browser, it's got a lock on it.
Yeah, of course.
And if you click on the lock, sometimes, I mean, different browsers show green, different browsers just show the lock.
Right.
But yeah, that's a good point too. If it doesn't show green or red, it's just, well, it'll show red if something's really wrong. It should be like a strike through the lock or something.
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. If that, it means proceed with caution. And especially if you're giving money to this site, do not do that, because either their certificate is expired, which is another sign of, hey, how legit is this website? They can't even update their certificate. Could be something temporary wrong, but you don't want to take a chance. If it's like, some other way, well, I wouldn't say ever take a chance on it, because I can tell whether it's going to be, a exploit website or not a lot of times versus the average person. So I'm not going to try to give advice on how to determine that stuff. But if you ever see red to the left of your URL, or you see a broken lock or any kind of warning, do not interact with the website if it's a money thing, if it's a crypto thing, if it's a DApp thing. Just don't do it. Wait till it's fixed.
Yeah, I've seen that many times. I'm pretty sure Chrome's good too. Like usually it'll pop up and say like this connection is unsecure or it's not private or something, and like that's like the preemptive window of like, do you know what you're doing?
Yes. So if it says it's not secure, that means it's just running HTTP, which is unencrypted, which means it's basically harder to tell if the site is legit or not.
It's kind of more open source where anyone could go in almost.
No, not. It's not about the access to the code. It's more about do they have? So 10 or 15 years ago, HTTPS was very rare. It was only on like credit card websites and stuff. But ever since the Snowden leak and the NSA stuff back then, everything's like HTTPS everything, because there's all these attacks you can do on non-HTTPS websites, non-encrypted websites.